Kripto Kaosu, are digital assets still a safe haven? Discover how Trump's tariffs shook the crypto world and traditional markets in just days.
All right, so welcome back, everyone. Buckle up, because today we're going deep on a crazy couple of days in the markets. February 26th and 27th, 2025, to be exact. We've got a whole mess of financial news articles. Oh, and some pretty interesting social media posts, too. They all seem to be pointing to one big question, though. How are these big global events kind of shaping how traditional markets and crypto work together?
Yeah, it's pretty wild how connected everything's gotten these days, right? It's not even like we're talking about separate types of investments anymore. What happens with the S&P 500 can totally mess with your crypto.
Totally. This time, the whole thing kind of started with Trump, of all people. He just casually announced this 25% tariff on the entire European Union during a cabinet meeting. Oh, and on top of the ones we already have on Mexico, Canada, and China.
Whoa, 25%. That's huge. It's been decades since we've seen rates that high, potentially since the 1940s. And to just drop it so casually in a meeting, I can only imagine how crazy that made things behind the scenes.
It's like he wants to watch everyone freak out or something. The Kobasi letter reported that the S&P 500 tanked over $500 billion in market value in minutes after that announcement.
Whoa, hold on. Think about how that even works. It's not even just normal people panicking and selling everything off. We're talking algorithmic trading here, big time. These giant institutional investors have super complicated buying strategies tied to those global indices. So when something like this happens, their algorithms basically trigger a fire sale almost instantly. That's how you can lose $500 billion, just like that.
It's kind of terrifying when you think about it. Oh, they even tweeted out this chart showing the S&P 500 completely nosediving. And right at the same time, Bitcoin takes a dip too. It's like watching two synchronized swimmers or something, except they're both drowning.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like a visual for how the contagion effect really works. For the longest time, people thought of crypto as this, totally separate thing. It was immune to all the craziness of the regular market. But that line is definitely getting blurrier, that's for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of blurry lines, Bitcoin wasn't the only one getting hit. The entire crypto market took a pretty big dive. We saw some serious losses across the board. XRP, DOGE, ETH, ADA, even BNB took a hit.
I think this is where it gets interesting, though. The overall trend was down, for sure, but the effect on individual cryptocurrencies wasn't exactly the same across the board. For example, this one user on Binance Square goes by Pretty N. They were talking about this crypto bloodbath, and they specifically called out XRP and DOGE for plunging 10% in a single day. So the question is why did some get hit harder than others?
Okay, yeah, let's dive into that. What made XRP and DOGE so vulnerable to this whole tariff thing?
Well, XRP's always been super tied to the global financial system, right? It's mainly used for payments that cross borders, which, are directly affected by trade and tariffs. So anytime you have this kind of disruption in global trade, it creates a lot of uncertainty around how useful XRP really is, which can scare off investors.
That makes sense. What about DOGE, though? That's always been more of a meme coin, hasn't it?
Exactly. And that's kind of the problem. Meme coins rely almost completely on sentiment and hype. So when the market as a whole takes a hit, those coins are usually the first to go. They're seen as, way riskier, especially by institutional investors who are a huge force in the crypto market now.
So this whole thing really makes you wonder about Bitcoin as a safe haven, right?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of our sources are kind of going back and forth on that. Some are still hanging on to that whole digital gold idea. But, this whole market reaction definitely throws a wrench in that.
Yeah, Altcoin Buzz even asked, is Trump's trade war pushing Bitcoin into a free fall?
Right. It definitely challenges that idea that Bitcoin can just ignore all these global, shakeups. But we got to remember that even gold, the OG safe haven, didn't get that reputation overnight. That took decades, centuries even, of proving it could handle any crisis.
So you're saying this one event doesn't automatically mean Bitcoin's not a safe haven anymore?
Exactly. What this might actually be showing us is how much Bitcoin is starting to react to how those big institutional investors are trading. They're bringing all their strategies from the regular market into crypto. And that includes, freaking out over stuff like trade wars.
Oh, so it's the fact that Bitcoin dropped with the S&P 500 might be more about those investors reacting the same way in both markets, and not necessarily that Bitcoin just fails as a safe haven.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that simple, you know? You can't just say, oh, Bitcoin went down, so it's not a safe haven. You got to look at the bigger picture and why different people in the market are doing what they're doing.
Okay, so what happens now? What are the experts saying about the future?
Well, there's a lot of talk about this trade war getting even worse. Some sources, like Pretty N, are talking about how China's National People's Congress could be like a turning point. They think China might do some things to stimulate their economy, which could actually be good for both crypto and regular assets.
Interesting. But what if it keeps getting worse? Could we see, like, everyone dumping their crypto and putting everything into gold?
That's definitely possible. If things stay this uncertain, we might see a flight to safety, and that usually means people go for those more established assets. It's tough to say, though. Trying to predict what's going to happen is like, I don't know, reading tea leaves or something.
Speaking of uncertainty, what about these tariffs and inflation?
Oh, yeah, that's a big worry. A lot of sources are saying inflation could, like, double from what it's been lately.
Double. Yikes, that doesn't sound good.
Nope, not at all. Rising inflation could really mess with the Fed's plans for the economy. And, when the regular economy starts to struggle, crypto always feels it too.
Okay, so this is a lot to take in, right? What are people supposed to do with all this information? Like, how do you even deal with a market this crazy? I don't know. It feels like we're at this weird crossroads,
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, crypto could just become even more tied to the global economy. But on the other hand, maybe stuff like this trade war will force crypto to, like, make its own way.
It really makes you think, will digital assets just become like another part of the regular financial system?
Yeah.
Controlled the same stuff? Or will they become something totally different, like their own system outside of governments and banks and all that?
Yeah. And how do we even get ready for either one of those? It's like packing for a trip and you don't even know if you go to the beach or the mountains.
No. Right. I think the key is to be able to adapt. And as cheesy as it sounds, stay informed. Like, this whole trade war thing just shows how important it is to, understand what's happening in the world. With the economy and stuff, it doesn't matter if you're, like, a pro investor or just starting out. You can't ignore what's going on. It's going to affect your money one way or another.
Oh, Pretty Ann had a good point about all this. They said, stay calm. Markets are cyclical. Panic selling rarely pays off.
That's good advice. Volatility is just part of the game, especially with crypto. It's still pretty new, Just got to ride the waves. Don't let them wipe you out.
And that's where having a good plan comes in, right? Like knowing how much risk you're comfortable with and not putting all your eggs in one basket and all that.
Definitely. Don't let FOMO or, like, getting scared make your decisions for you. Just take a breath, look at what's happening, and then make a choice that, works for you and your goals.
So to everyone listening out there, remember, knowing what's up is powerful. The more you understand about what's going on, the better you'll be able to handle the exciting and sometimes kind of scary world of crypto.
Yeah, for sure. Keep asking questions, be curious, and don't be afraid to question, what everyone says is true. Things are always changing. The only thing that's for sure is that there's always something new to learn.
Well said. And on that note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.